Let's see here if we're live. Check one, check one, check one. All right, we're audio looks good. Let's see if we're streaming here. It looks like we're streaming, so that's cool. Today, I'm going to do a little bit of a different type of video here today. So, welcome everyone. In 2019, I did, I think, the 5 biggest lessons of 2019. So, this, in 2020 here, I'm going to do the biggest lessons that I learned about, life, spirituality, and I'm going to do 5 things from my own personal life. And then I'm going to talk about some more things from the title of this video that I think, that were gifts from Spirit. So the biggest thing that I learned throughout this whole pandemic and everything that has happened is how putting life on pause really changed a lot of people's perspectives on life. And as much tribulation that I went through, I kind of was humbled and grateful for all the times in my life that this similar situation happened to me. And I went through what everybody experienced in 2020 probably 7 or 8 different times in my own life. Life being put on pause, for example, or, being taken out of life. I was taken out of life many times, in and out of jail, in and out of rehab, all these different things. And each time that happened, I came out of it with some type of lesson learned, even if I couldn't see it at the time. Each time that I was taken out of my own life, taken out of my own self, gave me a new perspective. And the biggest thing that I think out of 2020, besides death and people dying, is that despite what people may think, I think we all have gained something, rather than our outward reality showing us how much we've lost in the division and the chaos. I all think that we have gained something very precious that normally wouldn't happen to us unless we were, put in an institution, jailed, sent to a mental hospital, sent to rehab. In any of those various scenarios, you would just, normally live your life, right? And I think that's the biggest thing that we seen was the pausing of life allowed us to really see all the distractions within ourselves and within our own lives if we really took a look at ourselves. And I'm sure a lot of people did, because they were just, laid off of their jobs and didn't have anything else to do. So I think that this was ultimately a great thing. It was a very eye-opening experience. And this leads me to my preface for the next 5 things that I have of the biggest lessons of the past year and a half. And is that your jobs and your occupations, and if you're lucky enough to have an actual vocation, a vocation meaning something that you're super passionate about doing and you get paid to do it, you're a master at it. Few of us have a vocation, right? A lot of us just have jobs. We go to work to pay our bills. We go to a job to pay rent. And most people don't like what they are doing, right? So the biggest lesson from all of this was your job, whether or not you like it or not, really fulfills unseen needs that we all have as human beings. So number one, you may have not liked your job, but it gave you some form of discipline. It gave you some type of social interaction. It gave you some type of responsibility. And while most of us usually, bitch and complain and moan about our jobs, it's those things that we don't think of that we lose when we lose our jobs, right? Number two, another huge thing that I saw was this societal normalcy. It went right out the window, right? And also a lot of division. So, societal normalcy being the fact that everyone all of a sudden was concerned with or wasn't concerned with their neighbors or what other people were doing. It was just a really weird dynamic. And everyone was kind of only concerned about themselves. It was very self-centered. It was like, well, so and so lost their job, so and so da 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 da, but I have my money coming in, so I'm good, right? I have my unemployment coming through, so it doesn't matter what everyone else is experiencing. It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. And I think in that, it was a very selfish kind of way that was another way that we were all kind of divided throughout this year. So, number three is I realized that most common people only have their jobs, and it gives them a certain satisfaction, even if they complain about their jobs all the time. That really a lot of people are very tied to their work, and even if they don't like doing it, they're very emotionally tied underneath the surface. And some people, that's all that they have is their job. And that's really sad, because I believe coming into the future here, this is what spiritual awakening is all about. This is what heading into this new earth, this is what 5D is all about. This is what the awakening has prepared all of us for, is to wake us up that there is way more to life than just going to some job to pay rent and to pay our bills. So although the first half of this kind of lessons were kind of negative, it was really showing us that we are way more talented and creative. And it was showing us by pausing life, like it was giving us a chance to truly see what was important. Number four, nothing really changed for me in my own life and my routine. And I was made aware of my own discipline and my own routine because I was watching everybody else around me not working, and I was, I could see things that I didn't see before. And that made me very appreciative of everything that I had worked towards and everything that I was currently doing. For me, I lost my job in July as a bartender, and nothing really changed except I just wasn't bartending at night, right? But like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, there are unseen needs that we need as human beings. And a part of my job, even though I didn't like bartending anymore because I felt like I was growing out of it, it gave me some form of validation that I had a job in society. I would go to work, I'm paying my bills. It was this weird societal pressure that you don't normally feel. But as soon as you lose your job, then all of a sudden you're not like everyone else, right? You're the outcast. And for a long time, I had no job and no money at all. I was waiting on unemployment, so I literally had no job, no money coming in for almost 6 whole months. And this really opened my eyes to what we value as people, what people care about, landlords, like everything. The whole dynamic of society really rests on people feeding the machine, right? It really rests on people going to work. If nobody goes to work, capitalism and society can't function because nobody is buying anything, right? No one's getting that new iPhone. Nobody is doing this and doing that. So it was a really interesting case study, if you will, for those people in the scientific community. It was a fascinating case study, not only in economics, but in social behavior. And it really brought out the best in people and it brought out the worst in people. I don't think that there was any gray areas. So like I said, nothing really changed for me. And then number 5, just as I was thinking that, I was unaffected by this whole situation, my reality started to break down. And I reached this breaking point, and a new level of surrender and trust was birthed out of that breaking down. I literally just watched my kind of reality, my finances, everything that was kind of stable in my life suddenly was up in the air. And I'm sure it was like this for many others. And instead of freaking out and, going down some type of fear, some rabbit hole of fear and freaking out, I did really well with practicing what I preach. That's part of the reason I'm shooting this video, is to show other people what this actually looks like for somebody such as myself that actively focuses on transformation, actively focuses on health, wellness, spirituality. How it was for me was no different from everyone else. And this is when I was really tested to put what I learned through spirit, what I learned through the illumination process and through like the Holy Spirit and all of that really allowed me to get through this. And I don't think without my spirituality, I don't think I would have made the same decisions. I don't think I would have remained calm in those times of chaos. So I truly now think that I literally could get through anything. And it was just an interesting perspective to see all the shifts that we have all made, and we have come kind of full circle. At least for me, I've kind of come full circle. In the full moon in Leo, the energy update that I gave just a little while ago, I was talking about these new timelines for humanity. And it still holds true. I can still feel these potentialities within the collective. And remember that timelines are all probabilities, and nothing is ever truly lost in these opportunities. We are always creating our future. The universe will always manifest another potential, another choice to be made. So when a lot of people get excited when I talk about timelines and these future timelines and striving to get on the highest potential timeline, and really it's coming into the moment and just making a spiritual choice, a sound choice from your spiritual self, not from the egoic worldly self. So don't get too excited about whether or not you're in the right place or you need to be in the right time. This will naturally just happen. And these new timelines that I sense is just the potential, this raw potential for us to up level our lives in a big way, individually as well as collectively. So those were my biggest lessons that I seen just in my little microcosmic part of the world. And I don't live in a big city or anything like that, but that was just my insights and wisdom from the past year and a half. So hopefully that helped you. And now I will talk about my 5 biggest wins of the entire past kind of year and a half. And what I can say is embarked on this YouTube journey to kind of speak my truth to the world and kind of make a name for myself and try to start a business and all of these things. And I had all of these ideas about how that would look, how it was going to go. There was going to be a certain time that this would happen and a certain time that that would happen. And it didn't. It just did not go that way. Everything that I thought was going to happen did not happen. And I kept questioning God. I kept questioning myself, like, well, what is the point of all this? Like, what is the meaning of all this? Like, I really genuinely felt called to start a YouTube channel, to share, to teach, to mentor others. And it didn't happen the way that I thought it was going to. So it was a huge lesson in humility and in further surrendering to the divine plan for our lives. Now more than ever, I feel that whenever it's going to happen, or even if whatever that is going to happen, it will happen when it needs to. It will happen when I'm ready for that to happen. And I just let go of that. I let go of, trying to be successful or trying to be popular or looking for validation based on views and how many subscribers I got. And I mean, this is a small channel. So just imagine if it would have grown, rapidly. I can only imagine this would have been further exacerbated, this need to kind of prove myself, or this need to succeed, right? So the biggest win for me was, number one, was this business grant. I received a business grant from the city, and I was led to this by synchronicities and spirit, like just my intuition and little things. I was led to this grant, and that was the first biggest win that I've ever had in a long, long time. I really felt like it was a gift from God, from spirit, and it was like saying, despite what you may think and despite all these thoughts that you have, this is still something that you should do. Just because it doesn't look the way that you think it looks doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be doing it. So that was a really humbling experience yet again. Number two, the biggest thing that I think that I received from Spirit was grace. Just the grace to be able to continue living my life in somewhat of a way that I would like to live it. I think a lot of us, we wake up, we have these spiritual awakenings, and all of a sudden we have this passion to kind of take over the world and do all these different things and, speak our truths. And I think that I had enough wisdom from Spirit that enabled me to kind of see this grace that I was given, and kind of take myself out of my own self and be like, hey, you can slow down. You can, do whatever you want here. You're in control of how you feel. And that was another big point in my life from this past year and a half, was health. And that was number 3. I received this medical assistance, like almost like a grant, if you will. It was medical assistance for people that have substance abuse issues and mental health stuff. And it really kind of, once again, brought me back into Corey. Like, what do I need? What do I really need to go to the next stage in my life? And that, for me, that this year, it was about health. It was about getting my blood work done, going to the dentist, like making sure that I was healthy, getting all this stuff checked up. And I was able to get this medical assistance, which was a huge part of paying for all of this medical stuff that I had going on. And I had I went through 3 months of this Hep C treatment. It was $80,000 to get that paid for, and it was paid for. So it's like these things that happened didn't happen the way that I thought that they would, but it's exactly what I needed. The business grant, the grace, to have this wisdom, and then number 3, this medical assistance that I was awarded. It let all of this happen. I wouldn't have got my blood work done. I wouldn't have went to the dentist because I wouldn't have, thought that that was important enough to pay for, right? And it just goes to show you how backwards our kind of thinking is, how money really distorts our perception when we're in a lack mentality. And I think a lot of people in the spiritual community get blasted for talking about money and living in abundance, but it's so true. I started to really enter into an abundant mindset, and abundance is a way of life, and money is just a secondary thing that happens when you're living in abundance. And that's number 4, abundant living. That was another thing that I never experienced, coming from a history of heartache and addiction and just living literally every day like it was my last day, barely making rent, to living with a full refrigerator full of food, a really nice apartment. I have a really nice car again. Like, I got everything back that I lost. And it took me 5 years to regain all of these things, right? These material things. So it was more about the journey, if you will, to redeem myself, right? And I think there's a thing in a biblical quote. It says something about, to he who is responsible with what he is given, more will be given to him. So it's like, be grateful for what you have. Love your surroundings. Don't look at your neighbor and envy them for what they have, or their gifts, or their life, or what they're doing. Be happy for what you do have, because you never know when you're going to lose that. And I think a lot of us just took all this for granted. And we had this crazy pandemic happen, and all of a sudden liberties are lost, ways of life are lost. So I think coming forward here, if anything, the abundant living and gratitude were some of the biggest lessons and wins from my own life. Even when I didn't have any money coming in, like, I still had food in my refrigerator and was still eating fairly well despite this whole situation. And then number 5 is, the biggest win is just the confirmation that I am on the right path. And the confirmation as well that sometimes you have to know when to kind of let go a little bit and reevaluate what's important in your life. And just because you were doing something doesn't mean you are locked into doing that thing, right? And for me, this was like with the YouTube channel, it was like I was kind of breaking my back doing all these videos and doing all this stuff, and I was creating like all these groups here in my local community, and I think I was just doing way too much. And in that doing, though, it gave me purpose. And somewhere along the way, I think the more that we get devoted to a cause or a purpose, we lose ourselves within that. And it's important to take a step back every now and then and, focus on self-care, take a vacation, those were words that weren't in my vocabulary. Self-care, taking a time out. I'm very high energy, very go, go, go. And it's hard for me to sit down and just relax. So those were my biggest gifts from Spirit. It allowed me to still have this YouTube channel, to have my days free to create and do all of these things and still help others while doing it. So hopefully you guys got something from this. I wanted to really just talk about lessons and what I've seen over the last year and a half, and kind of show people what my life kind of looked like and how I got through all of those ups and downs, and Spirit was there for me 100%. And I also learned recently you can't be an island onto yourself. Every one of us is human, and we all need other human beings at some point in our life. You could say, oh, I don't need anybody and I can just be doing my own thing. Well, that was me. I was here. I had everything I needed here in my apartment. You know, I have an art studio here set up. I have a YouTube room in my other room, a studio set up over there. So I really don't need to go anywhere, right? But you do need people. You need physical connection in your life. And that was another thing that really hit home over the last month or so. I started to really see how distorted my reality had become, just living on my own little island, right? Even though I do work with a few people in my coaching program, I'm mainly talking about physical connection and support and friendship. So those are other things moving forward that I would like to bring more of that into my life, because all the transformation and all the spiritual books that you read can never truly make up for a good friendship or a really supportive person in your life, a mentor figure, or even someone you just watch on YouTube, because I watch some people that I look up to on YouTube as well, and they really help me be a better leader, and they also provide me with confirmation. So those people are huge that I watch on YouTube as well, but we all need physical connections in our own life. I believe this is one of the reasons why this pandemic has caused so much problems, is because we are all separated from each other and we're all concerned about what the other person, do they have COVID? I pretty much gave up with that whole thing a long time ago. I just, I was still like precautious and whatnot, but I just kind of gave up and just surrendered to the whole situation. So I'm still that way now. And who knows, maybe I already had the coronavirus before we were even told about it. I know back in whenever January or February of last year, I was really, really sick. Those of you that follow the channel will remember how sick I was. I was sick for like a month and a half, and I went to the doctor. They were like, oh, this is some super strain. We don't know what it is. And they gave me a bunch of antibiotics, and the antibiotics didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. So there's part of me that thinks the coronavirus was here before we even learned about the coronavirus being a thing, So it's just a whole big wild ride. I mean, it's a wild ride to think in the past year and a half, all the events that have happened, all the insights and wisdom and lessons and growth that I have gone through myself. And I had the top 5 lessons of 2019. I think I might go back and watch that video and just see how much has truly changed. And because I haven't watched that video since I shot it almost a year and a half ago. So it'd just be interesting to see the difference between what I learned in 2019 and till 2021, right? So hopefully you guys got something from this video. Thank you. Divine Spirit came into the house. What's going on? Cool. Awesome. Well, I'll be making another video soon for the new moon. I think the new moon coming up here, because we just had a full moon in Leo. So we just had a full moon in Leo, so I'll be doing an energy update for the new moon. You guys have an awesome day. You know, stay safe out there, pursue your dreams, and, you know, take care of yourselves. All right, my friends, much love. Peace. Oh, I look up to Divine Spirit there. I look up to Victor Odo. Victor Odo was one of my mentors for the longest time. And then Lee Harris. Lee Harris Energy is one of someone I found. And then Carolyn, servant of Yahweh, Carolyn. Those are the major influences in my own life. And I really enjoy their perspectives and what they bring to the table. So whenever I'm really feeling down or off, I'll watch one of their videos, and it will just kind of bring me back into this kind of confirmation that the thoughts, the feelings, my spirituality is real, right? All right, my friends, peace.